السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. 8 جانفي 2024. اليوم 94 من الحرب الإبادة على غزة، والليلة معنا الحاخام يسرائيل دوفيد ويس. Rabbi Yisroel Dovid Weiss, welcome. مرحبا.
شكرا. السلام عليكم.
So, marhaba, you are with us in this channel, which is a digital channel, which is working on YouTube, but as we explained it, we are worldwide. So we are present in France and Japan, in UK, in Tunisia, and today we are in the 94th day from the genocide, this horrible genocide.
Yeah.
And this horrible genocide where we have seen a lot of children that have been killed with bombs, with weapons coming from Western. And the first thing, how do you feel about this situation, this horrible situation?
Well, with the help of the Almighty, first I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth, His wisdom, that I may be worthy of conveying His message, and so, inshallah, sanctify His name. How can a human being feel in the situation? It's beyond grief, beyond words, beyond sorrow, beyond pain. This is something that we cannot express our feelings. We have, as Jews, because we are Jews, we have been standing in opposition to this movement that calls themselves the Jewish state or Judaism. We have been standing in opposition before they even made the state, when they started in Europe, this whole group. And our rabbis said that this is from the Shaitan, this is evil. They're not Judaism. They are a political movement. They are simply trying to masquerade in Judaism. They are using the religion for a criminal, for an evil. And they stood in opposition to this from day one. At the beginning, when they started their movement in Europe, where they came from, Vienna, Austria, and all these places, the rabbis in Europe stood in opposition. Now, they warned, and they said that this is only will bring suffering, it will only bring tragedy and terrible, terrible consequence. Unfortunately, our rabbis spoke what it says in the Torah, which is what God says. Why are you rebelling against me? It will not be successful. It will not be. They've gone on with their occupation and sacrificed on the altar of Zionism, of their ideology, and on their aspiration to have a solidified state. They've sacrificed whatever stood in their way. They trampled on, whether it is the Palestinian Muslim, the Palestinian Christian, or the Palestinian Jewish people. They've destroyed their lives. They've killed, they've maimed and occupied. And now it came to the culmination of what started October 7th, when they said that this was because it was the evil of Hamas, when we're not condoning, and it hurts so much, the death of people, but this is purely because they started this evil of the occupation, and the result is of oppression and oppression and oppression comes out that the result that people will do something.
Yes.
And now you have 3 months. It's over 3 months of total destruction of people are not killed, maimed, bleeding, suffering, thirsty, cold. Everything that you could think of that the human body can suffer is what's happening there, and that continually doing this in the name of my religion. So how could we feel? We are beyond the frustration.
Yes, Rabbi, your mother is from Poland and your father is from Hungary, and most of your family was killed during the Holocaust. So how we can explain that after this horrible Holocaust, we are living again another Holocaust, but this new Holocaust in Gaza is supported and approved by Western countries. How we can explain that even we see this every day, and it seems that every 10 minutes we have a children which is killed. And today, for example, it was about 270 people, innocent people that were killed. How we can explain that Western countries are supporting this genocide? I am not. I'm not talking about the political, but I am speaking about this this power of religious power, which is behind this genocide.
Yes. Well, again, I pray to the Almighty should give me His words. And so we should be able to sanctify His name and bring peace to the world. Inshallah, it's very to be able to speak and properly explain elusively with all these things is very hard, and not everything we can comprehend even, but we have to try with God's help. And first of all, let me just make a slight correction. My mother was born. My father is Hungarian from generations. My mother was born, and both of blessed memory was born in Hungary, but her parents were Polish, and her whole family was from Poland. And
Okay.
both of them lost the majority of their families in the Holocaust. My father himself, though, escaped when the Nazis came to Hungary, and his parents were killed in Auschwitz and so forth. My father-in-law was he was himself in Auschwitz. My father-in-law, and used to wake up with nightmares from the. So basically, the point that that you're trying to make. Well, the Holocaust at that time was many years, 5 years or what, and where they wanted to eradicate and kill every Jew. They were out to kill Jews. Jews who tried to escape, like my father escaped, but he couldn't bring his parents out because they locked the doors. They didn't let him out. The Zionists would very much love that the Palestinians should run away. That's what they would love, by the way. But this is a different concept. But what they're doing is mass murder. We're not trying to. So I don't like to compare different things, but this is mass murder of the people of Gaza, and 75 years of occupation and killing and not and unjustifiably taking all the rights, taking away the homes and the self-rule of the people of Palestine. And we're crying and demonstrating from day one about this. What's happening here, like you're right, is different, most probably because right now this is a case where everybody sees minute by minute, every day another bomb. They see it. They're seeing the people suffering. How could the world accept this? How could the world be silent? Now there are, to the credit of certain countries that are speaking up. I don't know if possibly they could do more. I have no idea because I'm not a politician, but there are countries who are complaining and speaking up. South Africa, as one is from what I hear, and there are other countries that are doing something, at least we're hearing. But at the end of the day, the world body is standing on the side and not stopping this terrible, colossal Nakba, this terrible crime that's being committed. So you are right with that this is something that we have never seen, I don't think, in history, where the whole world could watch how people who are definitely innocent, even they have no right to do what they're doing at all, but there are people who nobody could contest the fact that these are innocent people. We're talking over 22,000, over 20, I think 23,000 already. We're talking, and most probably they'll find under the rubble a lot more. And people, I mean, again, it's the time doesn't permit to delve into every single beautiful person who was murdered here and was suffering and maimed and everything. So, and the world is seeing this. How could they dare be silent? But we say that the whole concept really could only be because we believe there's something above this world, like we say, more than the physical that we see. There's the metaphysical. There's the Almighty, and the Almighty gave power to something called the Shatan, the Satan that drives people to do evil. Now, we're not condoning, again, we're not condoning when something does evil and say they're not to be blamed because there's a Satan. But we're saying that it's beyond comprehension that human beings and the world should be silent, only that it's the power of evil, that the Satan should be able to accomplish this. Because even from day one, the ratification of the state of Israel, when they made the state, it didn't make any sense. And because simply let us understand, at the time, before the state was created, the majority of the people living in Palestine were Muslims. The second largest community were Christians. And the third was the Jewish population. Now, let's just put the Jewish population on the side. But the main population were Muslim, and then the second Christian. And here, the United Nations ratified the creation of part of that land, splitting the land and saying one part should be the state of Israel, meaning that it should be under the name of the minority group. Let's just say under the name of the minority. Wasn't under the name of the minority group, because the minority group were very God-fearing religious people who were living together for hundreds of years in total harmony and peace with the Muslim people, with the Palestinians. They were living. There was no problem. The difference of religion wasn't an issue. They lived together, helped each other. We always show pictures. I carry around the book of just sample pictures of how we live together in peace and harmony. This is the way they lived together, because the difference of religion wasn't an issue. Yet, and they were God-fearing Jews, not like the Zionists who when they created the state. You can see in the Declaration of Independence, and this is 1948, Ben-Gurion reading the Declaration. He was the first prime minister reading the Declaration of Independence. And who is sitting at the dais, at the head table? You'll notice not one of them is covering the head. Not one. They're making a Jewish state. Israel, Jacob, they're making a Jewish state. Star of David they have on the walls. And not one of them, a Jew is required to cover his head to show he believes in God. And not one of them, they're creating a state that they're calling that it should be given to them because it's their land. God gave them the land. And they're not covering the head. So you see the hypocrisy, the falseness of what they're making a state. This wasn't the Jewish state. This was the state of the Satan. It was a group of people who were masquerading in the Star of David in the name Israel, taking over the land.
Sorry, Rabbi. Sorry. Because there is a confusion that we listen from people, Arabic and Muslim, everywhere in Europe or in Islamic countries. So this confusion is coming from, we have seen this video from this soldier in EDF, who is calling his daughter, and he's telling her that he trying to find baby to kill them, but perhaps he maybe killed a girl of 12. And if we have seen written by some rabbi based in Israel, and they are given authorization to kill children and women. So the confusion is coming from, is really Israel Jewish state? And how you can explain that Jewish religion can authorize this horrible crime?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. The Jewish religion does not justify. The Jewish religion forbids in every manner possible the existence of the state and all their actions. That's what I'm saying. When the Jewish community that stood there right from day one pleaded with the United Nations, and I have the letters of the chief rabbi of Palestine. This is in the United Nations documents, where at the time the chief rabbi was Rabbi Dushinsky. Now, when I say chief rabbi, the Israel made a rabbinate. They used the Star of David. They called themselves Israel. They made a rabbinate, and they picked up some evil people to be their chief rabbis. But the community that was living there, tens of thousands of Jews that are living in Jerusalem, who are till today living there and fighting Zionism, that they're there fighting all day. They're the people that are living there, the communities. I could show you, like gathering and fighting, stop the Zionist terrorist massacre in Gaza. The Jewish community that's living there, that was living there for hundreds of years, they said, no, my Judaism is a religion of 3,000 years to be subservient to God. And it means that we should practice the Sabbath, kosher, halal, all these things, and not to kill and not to steal. And then when they wanted to make the state, the chief rabbi said, and he spoke to the delegation of the United Nations, declaration before the United Nations, July 16th, 1947. He said, we furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine. This was the chief rabbi who, till today, we have a rabbinate and a chief rabbi who they all said, no, this is not our religion. But let me get back to what I was saying, that they went and the United Nations ratified a state that would make the minority, let's just say the minority of the Jews wanted it, but you're making it that they're going to rule over the majority. Now, the United Nations was created to have peace on the world. So it's against logic to create such a state, yet they made it. And then for 75 years, they're constantly seeing the Zionism, how it's constantly oppressing the Palestinians, and that the Jewish people are demonstrating, mind you, that Jewish community that was there, that didn't support it. Because I said, let's put the Jewish community on the side. But now let's talk about the Jewish community. That Jewish community was God-fearing, and they opposed the state. They get arrested because none of the boys and the girls, they want to serve in the army, which is mandatory service. They get arrested. They get brutally beaten. We demonstrate constantly. And old men the rabbis get assassinated. This is going on for 75 years and more. Here you see the gathering where they're taking up the next chief rabbi after he passed on. And in the United States, around the world, the very large communities are opposed to this. This is in front of the
who are, Rabbi, who are these people
who will give it a right?
Genocide. Who are these people?
Okay, yeah. So let me explain. Here, just one more thing. We put out a book, The Rabbis Speak Out. This is 130 years of religious Jewish opposition to Zionism around the world, from day one, before the state was formed, till today. All the leading rabbis around the world, from every country, from the Sephardic, everyone said that it's unacceptable. And give me just 2 minutes with God's help.
Go ahead.
Because Judaism, like I say, is to serve God. We took the Torah on Mount Sinai 3,000 years ago, not to kill, not to steal, to emulate God. Mahu racham, afat teracham. Just as God is compassionate, we have to be compassionate, to do good. And Zionism is started 150 years ago around that area, which is a transformation, a nationalism. It was a group of people, non-religious people, who wanted to create a nationalist home, a political, a basic materialistic concept. The rabbi said, we are not a nationalism. We are to serve God. We are forbidden since the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago for Jews to have any nationalist home, to have even 1 inch of our own sovereignty. And that's why for 2,000 years, Jews had opportunities to buy a piece of land. But it's forbidden for us. It's clearly forbidden. God put us under oath not to reestablish any Jewish sovereignty. Not that the state of Israel is Jewish, but even if it would be, I say, it would be forbidden for us. Now, secondly, they say they're making the state because where's God to protect us? That they laugh at the religious Jews. They say we have to have a gun, we have to have a land to protect us. So it's rooted in heresy and blasphemy. They ridicule the religious Jews that we say, what do you mean God is our protector? No, they say, where is God? We have to have a land. So it's rooted in blasphemy. We're forbidden to create a Jewish state. It's clear in our teaching, in the Jewish teaching, it says we were put under oath by God since the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago. We are forbidden to create our Jewish sovereignty, and we're forbidden to return in mass, in large numbers, to the Holy Land. So Jews live dispersed in every country. We're forbidden to return in mass, and the Zionists breach all of that. We're forbidden to make any concept of leaving exile. So, but not only that, but if they would make that state, it would have been empty, the land, uninhabited. We still would oppose it because we are in exile. We are forbidden to have a Jewish state. We are forbidden to have a state, even if it would not affect other people, but being that they're making this state in Israel, in the Holy Land, in Palestine,
So
this
is what you said. You said,
so killing and stealing is forbidden. That's what I'm saying. Just give me half more minute.
Go ahead.
It's killing and stealing. So not only they're making a state which is unacceptable, we would always oppose it, but they're making it by oppressing the Palestinian people is clearly forbidden. And on top of that, we are to show gratitude for people who did us good. It was the Muslim countries that took in the Jews throughout our suffering by the Inquisition and Crusades. It was the Muslim countries that took us in, including in the Ottoman Empire in Palestine. We lived together in peace. So how dare they accuse the Palestinians of being evil and anti-Semitic, they call it.
But even, Rabbi, even when there was persecution for Jews in Spain, so a lot of Jewish people, they went to Morocco, to Algeria, to Tunisia, and they have been installed there. So we have been living in peace with Jews in Tunisia and Morocco and Algeria without any problem. And the other side, so we have seen a lot of people from Jewish religion, even in the high level of the state, and they have been as minister. For example, if you remember, in Ottoman Empire, that there have been some minister and the state. My question, and I think it is important for people to understand. So you said, and this is your words, it would be forbidden for us to have a state, even if it would be in a land that is desolate and inhabited.
Exactly.
So what is the motivation, and who decided to create Israel in the earth of Palestine, and to try today to erase Palestine from memory and erase Palestinian people from Gaza? And I think they will do the same thing for Ramallah.
Right. Well, it's very simple. Like I said, it was a group of people, Theodor Herzl, Zev Jabotinsky, then there was Ben Gurion and Chaim Weizmann. These people were not religious people. They wanted a nationalism, and they first wanted to make in a practical place that it should be lush. The land should be productive, and they wanted to make it in Uganda, in Patagonia. They turned to Palestine because they realized they must have a massive amount of support from nations in order to create a sovereignty, a state. So they turned to Palestine and they said, here, we'll be successful. We'll tell the evangelistic Christians and Jews who don't know their religion that, wow, this is our land. God gave it to us and you should support us. And it's true that the evangelistic Christians here in the United States and around the world, they say, yes, the children of Israel, it says in the Bible, have to have the land of Israel. And they support them. Millions and millions of Christians support this blindly. They don't look what's happening to the Palestinian people. And they say whoever is opposing them, it's because they hate the Jews. So they're gaining support using the religion, falsely using Judaism, and they simply, because they don't have God's morals, because they're not religious. The ones who made the movement of Zionism were not religious. Like I showed you, these are guys who every single one of them, when they made this movement, were non-religious people. They hated God, they hate the religion, they wanted a nationalist home, so they turned and they were successful in getting the support of the Christians. Now, when they, at the beginning of the state, and they saw people are opposing them, the Palestinian people. Now, it was before internet, before even the basic media. So they told the world, you know, there are people here who are opposing us. It's because they're anti-Semitic. They hate the Jews. And that's what they did for 75 years and more. They told the world that the ones who are opposing them they're simply bad people. They're evil people because they hate Jews and they hate the Western world. They gave them a terrible a portrayal in the world that they should look at the people of Palestine and the Muslims also, mind you, as a whole, that they don't like Christians and they hate Jews, of course.
But yourself, you have problem with the chief rabbi of Israel. So you are not safe when you go to Israel. So you are not safe when you are against Zionism. You
Sure.
are not safe because, yeah. So who are these people? They are living in Israel. They are, yeah, I think they are also religious, and they are also teaching people about the Jewish religion, that it is that is against Palestine, against Muslim, and they are pushing people. They are pushing people to erase Palestine and to kill children. So who is
Who
this?
are them? Yes, the
Yeah,
question.
who are them? Yeah.
Very, very good. So again, the very religious communities around the world, even you'll go to Mea Sharem in Jerusalem, or you
Yeah.
go to, if you will go into come to New York, the largest concentration of religious Jews lives right across Manhattan, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and there's not one Israeli flag there. It's the same thing. You go to England, the very religious communities in Stamford Hills, you won't find Israeli flags there. The very religious says no. We are forbidden to do this. We are forbidden to have a state. We hurt, we cry, we feel the suffering of the Palestinians. Who are the ones who are supporting them? These came either from totally non-religious homes, or they're called Mizrahi. They were called, not the Mizrahi can be confused with people of that comes from Europe, but there is a movement called Mizrahi. These were the religious Zionists. The religious Zionists came from either non-religious families or what they call modern religious. Modern religious means, what does it mean, modern religious? It means that they compromise religion, that they don't dress modestly, they're not careful with their kosher, everything is with a compromise. And these are the ones who follow their emotions, and they conflated, they put together the religion. The Zionists came, and they needed to make it look legitimate. So they bought a chief rabbi. First they took Cook, and then they took Avadia Yosef. You heard most probably of Avadia Yosef. They took these Avadia Yosef, the chief rabbi. They took people who are very knowledgeable, like he has encyclopedic knowledge, but these were rotten to the core. Their rabbis were opposed these people. They found, from the thousands of rabbis, they were always able to find somebody who's for a few dollars or whatever it is, they sold their souls, and they gave them respect. They dressed them with this, that they should look very special, and they made them chief rabbi and so forth. So they were able to get people to totally twist the Torah and say that it's acceptable to occupy, and it's God's will that we should take over the land, because they're using certain concepts of the Torah. Again, it's hard for a person who's not Jewish to understand the nuances of the Torah. But the fact is, every Jew, even me, we all yearn to return to the Holy Land. I say in my prayers every day, constantly, we pray to return. But our concept is when the Almighty will make a miracle, a metaphysical change, where all humanity will recognize one God. It says, and all the nations, it says, everybody will join together and serve God, and then God will build a temple without any human intervention. So the Muslim countries, as you were speaking, the Muslim countries took in the Jews. They knew, they were scholars. They knew that I believe and I hope one day to return to the Holy Land, but they knew we're not a threat, because we believe at the end of time, there will be a different end of time than the Muslim people believe. We believe that God will make a miracle, and everybody will not become Jewish, but everybody will stop being atheists. Everybody will serve God, and God will build a temple. Yes, it's not like the Muslim belief, but it's not a threat, because how God will do at the end of time is no difference. In fact, the Muslims are taught. Yeah. Let me just finish this. Wait, the Muslims are the scholars, the imams, the ayatollahs, the sheikhs. Everybody teaches the Muslim people that they should respect and protect the Jew who is God-fearing, even though we have a distinctly different belief. But that's not a problem. We have a different belief of how to serve God, and we believe at the end of time it will be different. But till that time comes when God will make this miracle where everybody will serve him, we are forbidden. We are expressly forbidden to return en masse in large numbers. We are forbidden to, God forbid, steal the land, occupy. So Zionism takes this belief that every Jew yearns and hopes and prays for, and they fool the people. They tell the world They know, they count on the ignorance of the people.
Yeah.
They turn to the Muslims, and they turn to the Christian people and say, hey, this is the land God gave us. And they
Rabbi, sorry, an important question, because
yes,
what we hear a lot of time is that, yeah, Jewish people are the elected people, and the elected people from God, and God has chosen these people, and this is why they have permission to do anything, and they have permission even to steal their land, even to kill their children, to kill their wife. It is permitted for them. So my question,
but that's not true, of course.
Yeah. My question is that when we listen to your message, to your voice, so we listen to a peaceful message, and this is very important. And we listen that Jewish people are not for the creation of Israel, and they are not for the genocide, and they are not for killing children. So why we don't hear this voice? Why this voice is limited?
Well, first of all, again, I have to return to the fact that we believe that the world is more than just what you see, in front of your face. There is a deeper thing. God has created a world that He wants people to do good, even though He has trials and things that make him do bad. So a person has to overcome his evil inclinations. They created the state. The Satan is pushing these people like Theodor Herzl and Netanyahu and all these evil that to push that they should want to continue doing what they're doing. Now wait, the always seeing the pictures of the settlers, and you can see them with beards and maybe payas. Usually, I don't know if they have, and so they look to the eyes of in the world that, oh, this is the religious community, but that's not true. The very religious community around the world, the more the religious, the more anti-Zionist they are. But you're always seeing this fringe because they're out there. They're ones who are in the settlements. But these are the ones who joined Zionism, the ones who joined something that all the rabbis said is evil. And the Zionism has a tremendous amount of money, and they pay for schooling, they pay for the education, and so they brainwash and they take these idealists, they go to universities, they have Birthright. I don't know if you know these programs called Birthright, where they pay free trips to go there, and they keep on using emotions. They say, oh, God promised us the land, 2,000 years we are in exile, and they keep on playing on the emotions of these people, and so these people are ready that their children should die on the hilltops, on settlements, even though in America they would be arrested for child abuse for bringing their children there. But they're ready for everything because they buy into the Zionist propaganda. And they have these rabbis. These rabbis are evil. Their chief rabbi is evil. And our rabbis, at the same time that they have their rabbinate and chief rabbi, we have our rabbinate and chief rabbis who were there, who were fighting Zionism. Around the world, I tell you, it's constantly we're fighting them. But these people use the Torah falsely. They use statements of the Torah that we yearn to return to the Holy Land, and they totally ignore the fact that the Torah clearly forbids us to take over the land. Even 1 inch, 1 centimeter is forbidden for Jews, and that's why around the world nobody even looks at this. Why doesn't the world see this? How could this would be done in Japan? It would be done in England. It would be done in any place you would like, in the United States. If somebody would do what they're doing. These are soldiers who are beating Jewish people simply because we don't have guns. Nobody could accuse our communities of having guns. We stand out and every day demonstrate in the streets of Jerusalem, in other parts of the Holy Land, and around the world. We are constantly demonstrating. Here they're spraying them with stink gas water that should destroy their clothes.
So Rabbi,
yes.
What is the relationship between Zionism, Israel, and Jewish religion?
It is what the relationship is, that it's just like the relationship of the Satan to God. It's the opposite. Judaism is to serve God. Zionism is a transformation to nationalism, to have a piece of land when it's expressly forbidden for Jews since the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago. Now, let me tell you something. King Solomon, the one who built the temple, wrote the greatest prophecy. It's called Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, where he writes in there that we're under 3 oaths. We're not allowed to return en masse once we're sent into exile. He built the temple. He was before the destruction of the temple. And he tells the Jews, and every Jew who's a religious Jew follows the teachings of King Solomon, of the Talmud, where it says the laws. It says we're forbidden to return en masse and large numbers. We're forbidden to rebel against any nation. We have to be loyal citizens in every country we reside, and not to make any attempt to end exile. And they call themselves Eschalta de Gula, beginning of redemption. So they're totally falsifying the Torah, and they got a few rabbis to back them. And they made them chief rabbis, I say, and then they made schools, and they keep on telling the world, when you ask them, how could you, it says clearly in the Torah, you're not allowed to leave exile. We say, because of our sins, we are in exile. We are not allowed to make a state. So they'll answer you, oh, it's not a problem because being that the nations oppressed the Jews so much, therefore all these oaths that God put us under are negated, like they become what would you say? It's not required anymore because nullified. It becomes nullified because we are being oppressed so much. They become. In other words, they use the languages of lawyers. The Torah, it says we're not allowed to eat an ant. We're not allowed to eat a bug. We're not allowed to eat a worm. It's very clear, and just like we're not allowed to eat pig. The rabbis in the Torah, and that's a verse in the Torah, the rabbis say, I can show you 150 ways that a worm should be kosher. Now, it's not kosher, but if you get a good lawyer, he'll prove to you that it's kosher, even though it's not kosher. That's what the Torah teaches us. That, in other words, if you can twist the Torah, the Zionists took a few scholars who are evil, rotten, and they made them, and they started telling the people, oh, we're in exile, yes, but we don't have to stay in exile because we were so oppressed by Hitler and by the Inquisition that we don't have to, we're free of exile. It's nullified the oaths of exile, and we're allowed to take the land. And now the Zionists, and now the Palestinians hate the Jews, and they want to kill us. They make the narrative. They complete the narrative by saying that the Palestinians simply hate Jews, which is repulsive and false. We lived together. They were so good to us, as all the Muslim countries were good to us. We lived as we flourished. Maimonides came from Egypt. Baba Sali came from Iraq. All these rabbis came from the Arab. We flourished in these countries. Yet they come with a narrative that they're telling for 75 years the world that the Muslims hate the Jews. And therefore, you should look at them as not, they dehumanize them as they're not human. And that's why the world is watching how they're bombing and killing. And so they come along and they tell stories what happened with the 1,200 people, that they were tortured to death and they were killed. And it's not only 1,200 people, but it's already 75 years. And everybody in Palestine and Gaza is celebrating the murder of Jews. And therefore, they dehumanize them in the eyes of the world. That silences the opposition. We, as Jews, are standing up and screaming and pleading with the world that this is Zionist is immoral.
So the power is coming from Zionism, is not coming from Jews.
100%. We still have that community living in Palestine right now in Meish Arab. We have tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands that are living in occupied Palestine that even demonstrate. They get brutally beaten, or else you would see many, many, many more demonstrating. And not only in Palestine, even where we are in the United States, when we demonstrate, we get attacked. So the people are afraid to speak up. Still in all, there are tens of thousands around the world who demonstrate constantly. And I could give you another example. When they make their Independence Day parade on Fifth Avenue, you will never see the very religious demonstrate marching with them, because the very religious Jew knows that it is a contradictory. It is totally against God and against the Torah. You keep on asking a very simple question. I see always rabbis, you say, but the truth is, if you will study the issue, you will see that these are certain element of what they call the religious Zionists. But they're not the core of the Jewish communities. They're not around the world, but they're there. You're right, they're there, and they're telling you
Rabbi,
that they have a right to occupy.
How do you feel that today, even a lot of media, majority of media, Western media, are within the genocide? They are supporting Israel yeah, at 100%. But on the other side, citizen from USA, from UK, from France, from Japan, they are standing with Palestine. How do you feel this? You as Jewish, how do you feel this?
Well, of course,
Yeah.
I can tell you personally, because I'm doing this so many years. We would go in front of the United Nations every single year, tens and tens of times, or in front of the Israeli embassy, and we would be demonstrating. And by the in front of the United Nations, we plead with the leaders of the United Nations and to leaders of the world countries, and we would tell them, you are being totally conned by this Zionism. They're not representing Judaism in front of your eyes. The United Nations is right next to Williamsburg, where the very religious community is. Look at the rabbis. You see what's going on, that they're falsifying Judaism. And we show pictures how they're beating Jews in Jerusalem. And the world, if I say it would happen once in the United States, it would be the biggest scandal, and Netanyahu would be running there and claiming that America is anti-Semitic, and they would demand restitution, and the money should go to Israel, of course. But it's false. So we are hurting, of course, when we see the political leaders, and we've been trying constantly to speak to them that they should understand they're being duped. They're being fooled by the Zionist narrative, but it's not Judaism. It's simply, I can't give an example in Islam, but this is clear. Judaism is subservience to God, not to steal and not to kill. And I could just say we have all the writings I can also tell you the writings of the Zionists themselves.
Yeah.
We carry a book called Traditional Torah to Zionism, historical documents. Wait, let me just show you. Theodor Herzl, the father of Zionism, wrote in his diary, he said, the way to solve the problem of anti-Semitism is to speak to the head priest of Vienna, to get an appointment with the Pope, to make a mass conversion of all the Jews of Austria to Catholicism. It should be done on a Sunday in the middle of the day with music and pride publicly. We are the last generation that held on to the faith of our forefathers. In other words, he says Jews just dropped their religion because they weren't Jewish. They didn't care for Judaism. They said it should be done with music and pride. Everybody should leave the. My grandparents died for their Judaism. In the Inquisition, the people were burnt at the stake. They were tortured, and they gave their lives, and they were proud to give their lives to hold on to their religion. And here he comes, Theodor Herzl, and makes an announcement that everybody should be converted to South. Jabotinsky, who was the other father of Zionism, wrote in the National Home, this is in October 22nd, 1919, well before the state. They put in a newspaper article in Haaretz newspaper, and he wrote, in the National Home, we will announce that those Jews who have on themselves the rust of exile, and they refuse to shave off their beards and earlocks, this is payas, we call payas, they call earlocks, will be second-class citizens and not have a right to vote. They're making a Jewish state, and Jews who have beards will not have a right to vote.
Yeah.
To vote, yes.
It's not a Jewish
Rabbi Weiss,
Yes.
yes. I have a question as you talked now about Christianism, and we know that Israel now is supported by mainly by Great Britain and USA, and those two countries are Protestant. And as I know, and you might know also, of course, that the Protestant religion, they say that the Jesus Christ will not go back to earth only if the people of Israel are settled in the land of Palestine, Israel. They call it Israel. So are the Protestants using the Zionism for their project, or it's the opposite?
It's a very good question. I say that underlying everything is the Shaitan. Who is using who, I can't tell you. But I know that even a lot of the what they call religious Zionists are very uncomfortable, they keep on saying, with getting support from the Christians, because they say they believe, like you say, that they have in their narrative that the Muslims and Jews have, they call it Armageddon. where Gog and Magog, that they're going to go and they're going to have the Jews have to go up with the Muslims and either convert to Christianity or kill themselves, one or the other, and God forbid, and that will bring in usher in their belief of the Messiah and something. So they have their belief. So people are saying that they're being supported only because the Christians want the Muslims and Jews to go there and God forbid kill each other out. But we're saying something different. We're saying a lot of Christians, even who don't mean that at all, they mean simply because they have sympathy that the Jews were murdered by Hitler, and they have sympathy for them, and they say the Jews are being attacked because the Palestinian people hate them, and all this what they're saying, and they really just from the hearts they have sympathy. But it's wrong. It's totally wrong. It's dead wrong. Even if they mean the best of intentions, even if they don't mean this Armageddon issue, they mean simply because they want to help people who suffered so much by Hitler. But it's wrong. You have no right to steal a land. You have no right to kill or steal. You have no, and you're telling the Jewish people that they should be taking a land. You're dictating for Jews what their Judaism is. Have respect. Just like you can't tell Christians, you respect them. You can say to the Pope, you tell Christians what they should be doing.
We have
Jewish
to
people, the rabbis, the most distinguished rabbis who are living in Al-Quds in Jerusalem or in New York, the very religious, keep on saying that we are expressly forbidden to have the state or to occupy. So why don't they give us the respect to listen to what we're saying? And certainly not by killing the Palestinians. How could they not see? How could they not see
the two last, Rabbi, the two last question. So the first one, from your experience and your relationship in United States and also in Palestine, do you know some Muslim supporting the Israel state? The first question. And the second one, what is the idea behind destroying the mosque Al-Aqsa for the temple to build again the temple?
Well, first of all, if there are people who are support, there are people I've heard, and it's no difference who, but there are Muslim people who, because they mean also, maybe they mean well, and they say there will be two states, and then it will be good, and it will be good. We even when they made the Oslo Accords, and they spoke about the two-state solution, I personally went at that time, well over 30 years, we went to Washington, and my colleagues went even to Madrid at the time where they were making the Oslo Accords, and we said we don't want to be naysayers. We are very happy for every inch that's returned to the Palestinian people, and we really celebrate that. But the half that you want to make the two states, so you want to give half or whatever it may be to Israel, to the Zionists, we will never accept that, because that's a rebellion against God. And we said that it says in the Torah, why are you rebelling against me? It will not be successful. We said we're not naysayers, but it will not be a successful peace. And everybody sees today that it wasn't a successful peace. So we always stood against it. But there are people who say because of peace, they should divide the land. We'd say, it may be Muslims. There are Muslims who say that also, but we say to them, look, I'm not going to tell you what you should say, but we will never, as Jews, never accept 1 inch of the existence of the state of Israel. We pray to God that with his compassion and his, that he's totally compassionate, he should bring an end speedily and peacefully. God can make it disappear, just like you see the apartheid eventually end in USSR and the Roman Empire, Greek Empire, these things disappear. That God should help that with his greatness, that it should make it end without any more suffering. But we will never accept it. But there are Muslim people who talk that language. We don't accept that. Now, what you're asking about Al-Aqsa, again, clearly, Muslim and Jewish people have distinctly different religion. We believe at the end of time, the Messiah is going to be king from David. We believe that at that time there will be King David or King was or his descendants. But there will be at that time all the nations will be serving God together, not becoming Jews, but we will all together serve God, and God will recreate the temple, not through human intervention. And the Muslim scholars again know that this is our belief. But it's never a problem, because when God does what he does at the end of time is his business. So it's never a threat to anybody. But Zionism comes and says, we are going to occupy. And they talk about Al-Aqsa. There are Zionists who says exactly like you say, they want to take over the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Our rabbis from day one stood up and said, even before the state, mind you, in the 1920s, the chief rabbi of Palestine was Rabbi Sonnenfeld of blessed memory. He was the chief rabbi in the 1920s. And he met with the king of Transjordan, and he spoke and he said about the Al-Aqsa Mosque. He put out, we put out different when there was the Zionist threats on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. He wrote a letter. This is in 1929. The chief rabbi, Rabbi Sonnenfeld of blessed memory, put a statement in the local Arabic newspaper called El Salam. And he said, in regard to Al-Aqsa and the Temple Mount, he said, the Jews do not want in any way to take that which isn't theirs. They certainly don't want to contest the rights of the other inhabitants to the places held by them which they regard with honor and consider holy. In particular, there is no foundation to the rumor that the Jews want to acquire the Temple Mount. On the contrary, from the time that because of our sins we were exiled from our land, our holy temple was destroyed, and we have been lacking the purity required by the Torah. It is forbidden for any Jewish person to set foot upon the grounds of the Temple Mount until the coming of the righteous Messiah, who with the Spirit of the Almighty will rule righteously for the good of all creation, and return the purity to required by the Torah. So basically, Sharon went up. Sharon, who was a prime minister, as you know, who was a war criminal, as you know, in Sabra Shaltila, Sharon, he went, when he was for his political aspirations, he took 1,000 soldiers and went up on the Temple Mount. It's expressly forbidden for us to go onto that area. Even before there was the Islamic religion, we never went there because it's forbidden for us, simply because we're not allowed to go there because we're lacking purity. So it's always forbidden for us. Of course, we're not allowed to do anything against the Muslim people, and it was always under the control of the Waqf. And we respected them, and they gave the Jews the permission to pray by the Western Wall, by the Wailing Wall over there, but we never go past there. It's forbidden for us. And it says that not only that, it's considered going past there, going into the area of the Temple Mount. It's a sin that we get cut off. It's haram. We get cut off from God if we go there. And Sharon went with 1,000 soldiers. So it's only the Zionists who are doing this. But again, I know it's very hard for somebody who's not from the Jewish religion to understand the differences in the Jewish communities. But it's clear, the more the religious the community, the more anti-Zionist, because it's rooted in blasphemy that God can protect us. It's rooted in a bunch of sinners and evil people, and like I say, they conflated, and they got a group of people who support them, and settlers who come, as I say, from people who are idealists who don't know their religion, and they decided to take over. We are in total opposition to this, and we speak and demonstrate. You ask what's happening in the United States. In the United States, they have AIPAC, which controls politicians, American Israeli Political Alliance Committee. They're a very powerful organization of lobbyists and so forth, and they have a lot of money. So what happens is the politicians, which we know certain politicians who would want to speak up against Zionism, they know they're committing political suicide if they speak up. The same thing is with the media. There's many people in the media who would want to speak up. We met with many reporters by every demonstration, but they don't write it. The papers are simply fearful of writing when we are demonstrating. They ignore our tens of thousands who are demonstrating on the streets. We went out in front of the White House, tens of thousands. Who writes about it? Al Jazeera, possibly, if they're there, or if you will get from Iran, you'll get Arab News or IRNA or Press TV, but never it comes from the Western. They simply ignore all the demonstrations of our communities. Why? Because if they do write about it, then they get threats from the Zionists that they're gonna call the ones who advertise in the papers, and they're gonna boycott them. They have a whole system of putting fear in
Rabbi, at the end, I would like that we are at the end of this the time. I would like that you send a message for peace and a message I think for the whole world, because I think all of us, we are on the same page today.
Yeah.
So all of us, we are suffering
Yes.
from this genocide.
Yeah, well, with the help of the Almighty, again, the world should hear Judaism and Zionism as diametric opposites. The Jews, who are, because we are true to Judaism around the world, from day one until today, we all oppose. We cry and hurt with the Palestinian suffering. We hurt with them, and they should know that we are tirelessly, around the world, we are demonstrating and pleading with the world leaders. The people of Gaza should hear that we are feeling with them, and that since these 3 months, we've been day and night without stop demonstrating. And these are large communities that we have. The world doesn't see it because of the vicious attacks on the press, but we are there, and they should know that ultimately the God is the great power of the world, and with his compassion, he will bring an end not only to what's happening in Gaza, but to the entire occupation. There will be a free Palestine, a free Palestine. And so we let the people of Gaza know that we apologize for, unfortunately, what's being done in our name, but it's not Judaism, and it's not the ones who are true to Judaism. And even, unfortunately, people who aren't practicing Judaism, there are a lot of Jews around the world who are human rights activists, maybe not because they're coming from the Torah, which they should be coming from, but they are also demonstrating. We meet them a lot of times by demonstrations. The world of the Jews around the world are hurting, and there will be, ultimately, because the greatest power in the world is God, it's his world, he will bring an end to this occupation. Till that day comes, we plead with the world. You are not anti-Semitic when you are speaking up against the occupation, against Zionism. On the contrary, Zionism and the state of Israel are the greatest anti-Semites, because they are the ones who cause hate between Jews and Muslims. They are the ones who cause death of both the Palestinians and Jews. Everybody who's dying, it's all because of their occupation. We have been living together for hundreds of years. Remove the occupation and we can live together, as hundreds of years shows us. So Zionism is anti-Semitism. Do not be silent. We plead with the world. Get your world leaders, just like apartheid was stopped by the grassroots people who made their politicians stop supporting and end the apartheid. So you must speak up, and it's not anti-Semitic. On the contrary, it's good for Jews when we will remove this impediment to peace, the state of Israel. God should help. It should happen sooner nowadays. And again, be clear. Don't call it a Jewish state, because it's not Jewish, and that only gives you a blemish, that they look at you like you're hating Jews. They give an excuse for Zionists to disqualify you as being anti-Semitic. Be careful. Call it what it is. You call it the state of Satan or the Zionist state of Israel. It's the same. And stand up, speak up, and pray to God. Ultimately, we have to do, and he will bring the result, inshallah, sooner nowadays, of free Palestine.
Thanks a lot, Rabbi, and really it is very interesting moment with you, and really we are happy that you share with us your experience and your emotion also, but also this hope, this message that you send to the whole world. And thanks a lot. And perhaps another time in Paris or in Palestine, who can say?
Yeah, we hope to be able to celebrate. Yeah, free Palestine. And I'll come to your countries wherever we feel it's our obligation. We go to universities, we go to Muslim centers, we go around the world to try to teach people, to give them the courage, because they're intimidated, they're called anti-Semitic. We show the world the documents, we show who the Zionists are, we show who the Judaism is, so we give people the support. So we're always ready to go tirelessly around the world. We traveled. I was just this year in Scotland, in Wales, in England. I just came from a trip.
If you are coming to Paris, please.
Yes,
give us information.
2 times. And I was attacked in Paris. You should know. We were demonstrating in Paris, and I was viciously attacked by the Zionists, our groups. And we will not be silent, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And also, if you come to Japan, we will be very happy to meet you. Yes.
If you make something for Palestine, inshallah, we will go.
We do strikes almost every weekend in Japan here. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Rabbi.
شكرا.
السادة المشاهدين، شكرا لكم على المتابعة. الحقيقة أنه الترجمة ستأتي فيما بعد. احنا كان صعب جدا أن نقوم بالترجمة في نفس الوقت مع الحصة. إن شاء الله نقوم بالترجمة، وأكيد هي تقريبا فرصة بالنسبة لنا انه نخرج شويه من اللغه الفرنسويه ودخلنا في اللغه الانجليزيه. ان شاء الله الترجمه تجي في الوقت المناسب.
ان شاء الله.
الشعب يحتاج الى افعال واقوال. نعم، شكرا لكم وليله سعيده. Thanks a lot, Rabbi. شكرا
Thank
أسامة.
you. Thank you. Bye.